Good job, everybody. It's number 91 on the list, Whiplash. Welcome to Long Play Video. So welcome to Long Play Video. We're running down my favorite 100 films of all time. We'll talk a little bit about the film and our memories of it to begin with. Go away and watch the film, have some time travel spliced in there, and then see what we thought afterwards. So today's film is number 91 on the list. We've got to episode 10, which is fairly epic.
Yeah,
but
celebration.
But yeah, today is Whiplash. It came out in 2014, stars Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons. It's directed by Damien Chazelle and written by him as well. Box office 49 million on a 3.3 million budget. So again, a very small budget, did pretty well. Kevin, what do you know about this movie?
Yes, so I do actually know a little bit about this movie, although I haven't seen it. But automatically, whenever anyone says Whiplash now, immediately in my mind, I think of Mickey Rourke in Iron Man. So it automatically comes into my head. I'm like, I'm sure this isn't a film about just Iron Man's nemesis.
This is the origin story of that of that character. I would love for you to believe that going into this film, it would completely trash. You'd be like, when's Mickey Rourke going to come out?
I'd watch Iron Man 2 just feel so much worse for him. I'd be like, I want to win. I've seen what he went through in the film Whiplash.
It'd be pretty grueling.
Yeah. So yeah, what do I know about this film? I do know that it's about a kid or a boy learning to play the drums, and that it's pretty intense. His teacher's pretty intense, pretty high octane. I think it came out a similar time, or maybe I've just got this wrong, but what was the Steve Carell one, the wrestling one? Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Can't remember what that was, but I feel like they were the same sort of thing where the coach was like really like on top of you, like really militant and possibly too far. I feel like this is the same, right? It's similar to that, but with drums rather than with wrestling.
Yeah,
So,
no,
yeah.
It is exactly that.
It's not called the wrestler, is it?
Yeah, obviously for bullying, it was a time for bullying teachers. But it was Foxcatcher was that movie, because they kind of battled it out a little bit for Oscar for a few of the Oscars.
Okay. Yeah, so it was in the same year, was it? It was in 2014.
Yeah. So it's pretty strong,
Yeah.
pretty strong year, really. As far as the Oscars are concerned as well, it was an interesting one, because there are a lot of movies that are pretty similar. So Birdman won. I don't know if you've seen Birdman.
Yeah.
So obviously sort of pretty like independent, non-blockbustery. And then American Sniper, Boyhood, Grand Budapest, Imitation Game, Selma, Theory of Everything, and Whiplash were all of the best pictures. So like all of them pretty character driven, no big films as it were.
So big revenue films.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then obviously, I don't know if you do know, but J.K. Simmons basically wins every award going. Like literally, I think he won 48 awards for this character. So he just won Best Supporting Actor in literally every award going. I presume that he didn't go to all of them, or maybe he did go to all of them, because it'd been a long time coming for him. But yeah, this it then does also win for editing and sound design for the Oscars as well, but loses out on adapted screenplay and best picture, adapted screenplay to Imitation Game, which
okay, so it's actually is it a book originally then, based on a book, or
no? It's supposed to be sort of adapted as a from the director's sort of true life. And actually, again, because the budget was so small, so he went out and actually made a short film of it and took that to Sundance to then get funding to make the full length film. But yeah, I presume he had written it somewhere, or he had done something and to make an adapted screenplay rather than
Wow.
original. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
J.K.
yeah.
Simmons, even for 2014, J.K. Simmons was in 8 films in 2014
Yeah.
and in 4
Yeah.
TV series. So, like,
Yeah.
jobbing actor is
Yeah.
definitely right. He was on it. He
He's
was busy.
he's getting his money's worth. He's like, I want to make sure I'm in everything. He foresaw this writer's strike, and he was like, I want to make sure
I
I'm in
gotta
as
get
many
in.
as I can. I see this coming in 10 years' time. Yeah, well, that's extremely impressive. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing his portrayal. But then I always think of him as he's in Spider-Man, isn't he? Isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm sure I'll be able to adapt. But yeah, I always sort of think of him as that guy, the news guy in Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So all right. So let's go through it then. Why do we think why is it in your top 100?
Yeah. So
yeah.
the film itself is incredibly intense. It's really well shot. I really like the feel of it. I wouldn't say that I'm looking forward to watching it again because it is pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's going to be, you need to be in a different mindset than maybe for Night and Day. This is like intensity.
Yeah.
And then I'm fascinated by the point of the movie. Because the point of the movie is, if you want to be great at something, what do you sacrifice? Because you can't be good at loads of stuff and then great at one thing. Like, if you're great at something, you've usually sacrificed maybe everything else, maybe just some of it. And I just, it's just a point of fascination for me, because it's not something that I've ever really kind of wanted or gone for. I don't know. Is there ever been something where you were like, I just want to be great at this one thing, and actually, apart from podcasting, obviously.
I honestly thought you were about to say, this isn't something that I've had to deal with because I'm great at everything. I'm surprised you left that on the table. So I should take that. Really,
I've never been good at modesty, but besides that, I'm brilliant at everything.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? And obviously, you know, a point at time at the moment, you know, you had The Last Dance that came out recently on Netflix, and then at the moment you've got the new Beckham one, which, you know, everyone's sort of talking about how realistic that is, and I guess that's the thing, you know, with this, obviously this is with drums, you know, that's obviously with soccer, is as you say, really to be the best of the best. You know, you have to give it everything, right? And you know, you have to have a lot of, and it's not just practicing, it's like can't remember what they call it, but it's like really sort of like thoughtful practice where you have to be really engaged with it as well mentally. It's not just, oh, you're just kicking the ball or you're just playing drums. You've got to be thinking about what you're doing so that you really embed it into your brain. So
well, I mean, with Beckham especially, as a 10-year-old, his family moved from London to Manchester so that he could play football. And I just almost can't fathom that decision to basically say, we're going to completely move the entire family. I'm going to get a different job just so that you can try and be great at football. I can't imagine like, what my daughter would have to, like, how good she would have to be at something for me to say, I'm going to give up my job. I'm going to give up everything, and I'm going to move just so that you can do this one thing.
I think it would be film director, right? Or actress. Because you'll be like, I love films. I mean, where are we going? Let's move to Hollywood.
It would have to be something crazy. And that's what this film really captures just so well, is that intensity. And it would be great to discuss the ending. To sort of see what you think of it. And then like it builds. I don't want to have like a cheesy metaphor of a crescendo, but like it builds and builds and builds. So every scene kind of builds on the last. You see the character arcs really, really well. And it's intense. It's not a movie that you watch every weekend, but it's so well put together. That I think, I just really like it.
And so then, do you remember then when it was the first time you watched it? Was that when it came out in 2014? Is it still like embedded on your memory because it's so painful?
Well, you'll be glad to hear normal service has been resumed. I watched it on a
Yes.
plane
Here
going
we
to
go.
San Francisco.
Oh, the glamour. Do you remember what you were drinking while you were watching? I mean, we should start.
I ordered the chicken.
We're going to have to start adding this in because people will be like, well, we need to know, what do we need to do when we're on planes and we're you know, jet setting around the world? What other things should we be doing? What food and drink should we be having, Andy?
I was in 15A. That's the best
Yeah.
thing because
Yeah.
no, I mean this is the thing, because whenever I used to fly, I would check what movies I thought were going to be out, and I wouldn't then watch them because I would watch them flying. So it was early 2015 that I watched it.
Okay.
I mean, I think for most people they'll be like, "Wow, all of your favorite movies just come from being on planes." But actually, I would save them and then I would watch them on planes.
And so you just keep convincing yourself that that's what's happening. The reality is, I used to work with you, Andy. I know you were always on planes, going around everywhere. You're the Rupert Murdoch of the UK,
single-handedly destroying the climate on all of these flights. No, this was going over to San Francisco for a new job for the first time. And I don't know. Yeah, this is quite an intense film to watch from that, but it definitely gave me something to talk about with everyone. I think I mentioned it a lot when I got into people that I'd never met before.
And then when you so obviously after that sort of experience on the plane, and you were saying it's a pretty intense film anyhow. So have you watched it again since then, or is it like
no, I've watched it. No, I've watched it twice more since then. I watched it. I came back and talked to my wife about it, and we watched it on DVD. And then I have watched it again. I remember watching it maybe like 5 years ago, but after my daughter was born, because I was sort of like interested in the dynamics, and the dad part is really interesting. I really like the way that they kind of have the dad who's like, he is supportive, but he's supportive in a like, but this is making you crazy type way. So their dynamic is really good. And it's the guy from My Two Dads, which is obviously always good, brilliant. Good to have that person as a dad. And then I've watched scenes, like every now and again, there'll be scenes on YouTube that will be like, oh, if you like this, then watch this scene from Whiplash. And I'll be like, no, that is a good scene. And so I'll flick it on and I'll watch the scene. I've watched the sort of end 15 minutes a few times because it is a great scene.
It's going to be interesting watching this because, like you said, all I remember about it is, and there wasn't any specific reason why I haven't seen it. I just never got round to it. It wasn't a film I thought, I don't want to watch this. I have wanted to watch it. I think maybe because it just seems so intense that I just wasn't sure. Like, you really have to be in the right frame of mind, I think, for it, right? And I think what I didn't know at the time was the best way to get into the right frame of mind for this is to watch Night and Day beforehand. So now I am pumped and ready for this.
I thought you were going to say get on a plane.
Also get on a plane.
And just fly around and then come back. It's an interesting. It's an interesting thing, though, isn't it? Like for your favorite movies, is that like movies that you want to watch over and over again, or is it because there were some further down the list or further up the list we're still debating which way is which.
Depends which side of the hemisphere you're on.
Exactly. But there's some that I'm sort of not looking forward to watching because I just remember that they're so sort of gut wrenching but also that's what I'm kind of looking for from a movie is an emotional reaction. But then I also don't like horror because I just don't get the point of that emotional reaction. So
I'm judging on that basis. I'm presuming then, some of them are going to be really hard to watch and you're not sure you can bring yourself to do it. So that must mean Top Gun's on here and it's the scene where Goose dies. I'm presuming.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Goose may or may not die.
We'll edit that out. Wow.
Those sort of powerful movies that that just just mess
change
you
your
up
life.
inside. Yeah, exactly. Cocktail when he dies
Cocktail
at the end. I can't believe it. Coughlin. No, why did you do it? Tom
still a good movie.
still on a Tom Cruise kick from last week.
Yeah, exactly. We can't help it. He gets in, gets inside you. I'm not sure that's the right turn of phrase, but yeah, he'd be happy with that from a Scientology perspective. But yeah, you're right. It is an interesting perspective, isn't it? Like, what would you call your favorite movies? And you're right. I think there's a lot that we've already discovered from the first 10 that we've looked at is around. It's the nostalgia, it's the event or the timing of when you watched it, what was going on in your life, and I
Yeah,
think that's it. Like that's how we're sort of as we're going through these 100. That's what it is. It's what the impact has. How you felt when you watched it, and it's not necessarily, as you said, you're the film that you'd want to watch again and again and again, but it's something that it really impacted you, and you obviously liked it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I think with
yeah,
this, it is that theme. It is that yeah. It is really well put together. It
yeah,
was a shot. It was shot in 20 days, which
mm,
is quite fun to
that
sort
is
of
quick.
compare it to Once, which was shot in 17 days. But this is not. Again, they have a bit more budget, and I would
Oh,
say the
yeah.
filmmaker is a little bit better.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's not as many shaky cameras. I think there are still a couple, but not
yeah,
as many. Um, but yeah, I just think yeah, what really captured me was yeah for this one was that theme of like yeah the quest to be great, and
yeah,
yeah even especially with the kids because you always kind of like behind every great athlete there's probably
yeah,
a parent who has got up at 5 a.m. every day to like
yeah,
to take them like to the swimming pool or to
yeah,
take Simone Biles to the gym.
yeah,
she's to go and do 2 hours before school, and she
yeah,
is the
wow.
greatest gymnast of all time. But like at what cost? But
Yeah,
is it
to
but is it
everyone.
worth it? Or
Yeah,
and is it not? Because it's same obviously with like yeah Serena and yeah,
yeah,
so many great athletes. There's always sort of someone behind them that's sacrificed.
yeah,
I mean, with Messi
pushing
and kind of
them.
moving from Argentina over to Nou Camp, like the entire family, and then the dad had to go. But like, it's just so fascinating.
Yeah,
Like, I'm sort of all about like balance and kind
yeah,
of levelness. So to not even like put all of your eggs in one basket, you're like, it's the chicken. It's like you're trying to fit a cow
yeah,
into that
just
basket. It's
yeah,
like you're literally
just
just your entire
everything.
life.
Yeah, and just prayed, and it's just this like thin like wicker basket that's just been held together by glue, and you're like,
Yeah.
will it hold? Will it work?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Will you be
it would be
great or
pretty daunting.
will you just be very good?
Yeah,
Which would be fine. And for a lot of people, just
yeah,
being really good is fine. But
yeah,
how do you be the greatest? And actually, I think, yeah, being the
yeah, okay,
greatest, there's usually a massive downside, especially with music, where you see a lot of great musicians are obviously burnt out by the time that
yeah,
they're 28 because that's the age that they all
yeah.
die. So,
Not Mick Jagger, that legend. He's
well, he had the acting to fall
uh,
back on.
exactly, and we know he's good at acting. We've confirmed it. What one for one. Um, so is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to seeing? I know obviously you said obviously about how it's how the is there and how it sort of builds. But yeah, is there anything you're particularly looking forward to and anything you're possibly worried about as well?
Yeah, I think seeing it all together, I'm looking
Mm,
forward to. I think watching it with a slightly more critical eye than I've watched it, and to sort of
yeah,
see how it all does piece together and how each piece does work on top of each other. Because yeah, that's not something I was kind of just thinking about when I've watched it before. As
yeah,
well as sort of the pacing. Because I think I remember that it flies by and that it's pretty intense straight away. They don't sort of mess about
yeah.
with the backstory. So yeah, looking forward to that. Um, I think, I mean, 2014 is obviously look, what, 9 years ago.
Mm,
The behavior of the teacher was unacceptable then. Obviously now it's even more
yeah,
unacceptable. And
yeah,
yeah, obviously it definitely it's definitely of its time, or even like earlier. I think yeah, I think
yeah,
even by 2014, a lot of the reviews and people talking about it is just like, well, this just wouldn't happen. But I think sort of yeah, 20 years earlier, it definitely would happen. And
yeah,
so it will be interesting just how that stacks up. I mean, also, I'm we're
yeah,
we're old school, aren't we? So we also
Yeah.
remember, I mean, I remember teachers throwing stuff at me from across the classroom. Like it's, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that teacher got sacked at the time
Yeah.
because we were just on the cusp, but it still happened.
Yeah.
And obviously we weren't that far off from people, sort of getting a clout round the ear if they talked back and stuff.
Yeah. It seems
So
crazy, isn't it, to think how different it was, you know. But yeah, that will be interesting to see. You're right. I mean, and I guess the point is, it is, as we said before, it's a movie. It's you got to suspend belief to a point. It's not like, well, this is clearly ridiculous. No point watching this because it's not realistic. It's like, yeah, we get it. It's just an idea, a concept of what might happen or what could happen.
yeah,
So, yeah, I think it will be. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that will be pretty. I remember thinking that was one of the things where I heard about it and thought, yeah, this part is supposed to be super intense. So it'll be interesting to see how I feel about that. But yeah,
awesome.
I'm
Okay.
looking forward to seeing this one.
Yeah, well, hopefully no one comes in the store and disturbs us
Yeah,
halfway through. We're gonna
yeah,
they're
yeah,
gonna get shouted at.
yeah. Exactly.
But
It's like thrown at them.
but yeah, we'll put it in to the video player and talk on the other side. So just as Kevin goes to the back of the shop to put on Whiplash, I thought I'd take a little prediction about his reaction to the film. I think he's gonna like it. I think his first reaction will be intense or something along those lines. But I think he's going to also find it pretty funny. So we'll see, and we'll see you on the other side.
Intense, I think. Which is probably, yeah, probably to be expected. But no, yeah, I did really like it. I thought it was a good film. I think the actors are good. I think the roles are good. There was a point when I was watching it and I thought, actually, this is all right. This isn't too bad. And then it kind of escalates and escalates and escalates. And I was like,
Oh,
whoa,
his
okay.
behavior you thought wasn't too bad.
Well, the film starts, and obviously he's a bit, obviously he's a bit intense, and he's like, "Quick, play this, no double time swing, double time swing," and you're like, okay. But then, obviously, then it escalates to obviously the slap, and then it escalates further from there, which is the actual just sort of, mental degradation of his character and of his well-being, just
Yeah,
absolutely trying to rip him down to the absolute ground so he can sort of rebuild him again as he sees fit.
yeah.
That's pretty intense. And obviously the end bit where you're like, oh, blimey. But yeah, did you think I would like it?
I think that's exactly what I said. Is that
Yeah,
you would your one word
nice.
thing would be intense, which I think anyone who's watched this movie would agree with. I mean, it's a really intense movie.
Yeah,
I think it
yeah.
is good that, just straight from the first scene when he goes in to see the band practicing and he just pushes both doors open
Oh,
and
yeah.
he goes in and one person fiddles with their music. It's like, nope.
Yeah. And then
And
just takes over from the other teacher,
yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone's happy with it.
yeah. And it's,
Yeah.
well, it's, you're in chair one. Are you there because you're cute? And she plays
Yeah.
literally 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yep. And he moves on.
Yeah. I've got to say, I mean, I'm not normally the one for quotes, as well to you, but wow, there were some absolute humdingers in this. I mean, I wrote down
Yeah.
quite a lot of. I was thinking, I wonder if he's written these quotes himself. They went, just go to town and see what comes to mind.
I think that would have been such
Yeah.
a fun hour or day in the writing room. Just, okay, let's just come up
Yeah.
with insults today. And these are the
Yeah.
ones that you're going to be throwing around.
Yeah. Oh, when we get onto that section, I've got some absolute beauties on that. But there was one thing, like when it originally starts, and obviously he's just drumming, and it literally, I think in the first 2 minutes, there's the drumming as the credits goes on, and then there's him just drumming, doing like the double swing. And I was like, wow, this is in the first 2 minutes. I was like, I think I realized I don't like the sound of just drums. This is going to be a problem.
This is
But
going
I
to be a
was like,
long day.
yeah, I was thinking, wow, like what am I going to do? It's too many drums. It's already annoying me. Maybe it's getting me into the right sort of mind frame for it. But yeah, obviously that then dies down, and mainly the drums get played with other instruments. But yeah, I mean, just listening to drums non-stop's actually, I mean, how people just learn the drums is pretty impressive, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
because it's difficult without any other music. I thought just to listen to him just sitting there drumming.
yeah,
Do you know if he actually played the drums? Was it
yeah,
actually him? He did? Yeah. So yeah, it's
yeah,
very impressive.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons is a musician as well, so I think it is him playing the piano at the end, and he did
Oh,
used
okay.
to conduct and stuff as well. So I
Yeah.
think originally it wasn't going to be drums. I think it was going to be something else,
Ah.
but then because Miles Teller plays the drums, then they switched it to drums.
Oh, right. Okay. That's a shame. Yeah. That's one of my things that I would have adapted. So
But I think there's
get
something
rid of
about
these
it. Well,
drums.
we can maybe get into that. But I think
Yeah.
the drums, because usually you bring everything together, but there's not that many
Mm.
sort of drummers that are the lead of the ensemble and lead of the band. Obviously, there are some. So, but I
Yeah.
think that's the point. It's like, yeah, as a drummer, it's more difficult to be the sort of
Yeah.
the front and center. So therefore, you do have to be even better than
Mm.
if you're, number one violinist or you're number one, on the
Yeah.
saxophone, then you have the
Yeah.
solo. So therefore, you know, you're more present. Whereas with the drums,
Yeah.
you have to be really exceptional to actually stand
Yeah.
out
To be,
because
yeah,
that's the point.
noticed. Yeah. Was there anything that you specifically liked? There was some really good bits I enjoyed, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just such a well-made movie. And it struck me
Mm.
again
Yeah.
watching it. It's just so well made. For it's not his debut. It's not the director's debut. He made another film,
Yeah.
and that kind of doesn't really count. And I think it's very much obviously he's gone on and done La La Land, and then Babylon, and I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
such a it just is so well shot. It brings you right into the heart of things. Every camera angle is over someone's shoulder or a close up of the face.
Mm.
Even the car crash, you don't experience the car crash
Oh,
outside the car. You're in the car with
yeah.
him experiencing it. And then the sound alongside, I actually watched it with headphones this time. And there's
Yeah.
always like a constant hum throughout
Yeah.
the
Okay.
film, like almost as an orchestra warming up or the band warming up, and it's always there. And then it goes really high pitched during the crash, and then actually
Yeah.
when he leaves in the end, just for those sort of 10 minutes, there's nothing there, and it is really like the music's been taken away from his life now, and
Yeah.
it's not, he doesn't have that constant hum, for better or for worse. So
Yeah.
I did just watching it again, just think, oh yeah, this is such a well-made movie. Like I really
Yeah.
like it because it's just so well made.
Yeah. Yeah. I must say, I did like it. I thought the actors were really good. And I think it was, yeah, like I sort of written down here. I thought it was a good film portraying what can happen in some or extreme circumstances if you're demanding the best or the elite. Like if and I think that's what I learned about the film is that he totally believes that what he's doing is correct. He's
Mm,
like the only way to get to be the absolute best is to either be there already or for him to break you down and build you into where you need to be. And he completely believes that that's the case. And because he's so good, everyone kind of believes it as well. They're like, he's good, so his methods must be correct.
yeah,
Until someone points out, yeah, this student killed himself and now you've all
yeah,
got mental health problems. And you're like, oh yeah, that's true.
yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really good, and I think he's just such a good villain. There was one thing actually I was going to say to you that when he become like I said, he comes in at the start and he's already you see that he's going to be that kind of guy, and so I sat down to watch this movie and I went to the shops beforehand. I thought I'll just treat myself, get some nice sort of like snacks to prepare myself for this intense movie.
Nice.
And I just got terrible snacks and they were awful. And I think that got me right in the perfect frame of mind for this movie. I was really annoyed and frustrated with myself. And I was like, right, let's get into Whiplash.
if only I'd had someone who had coached me to get the right snacks, then this would have been
Exactly.
totally different.
Well, let's be careful here. If I could get a snack coach, I'm stopping this pod immediately, and I'm signing that person up
They
because
might throw a chair at your head every now and again, but I'm
yeah,
gonna get the right snacks, and that's
yeah,
important too.
yeah, exactly. It's all right. The chair will be made of like I don't know, like Haribo or something. It'll be fine. It'll be okay.
It'll just bounce off.
Mm.
What did you think about the last scene?
Yes. Okay. So I've got that down as what something I didn't quite like
Mm,
because like obviously the final scene where he just kept swinging back between him, between the coach and the drummer. They just did it too many times, and it was actually just I was like, I'm starting to just feel a bit sick because you just keep swinging back and forth, and I'm
yeah.
just hearing the drums continuously, and I was like, I've totally got it, and then I'm like, yeah, I've still got it. Yeah, I've still got it. Yeah, I've got the message. No, oh, okay, yep, I've still got the message. Okay, so I thought that went on too long, but the lead up, the sort of gotcha moment, and then the way he sort of retaliates as the way he finds to do. Oh, I thought that was great. That's probably the best scene in the film. I love that part. What
Yeah.
about you? What do you think of that
Well,
bit?
yeah, I think it's really interesting. The director had said that one of the first sort of feedback from producers after he'd put the movie together was
Yeah,
just for the last scene. Yeah, he can play the drums. We get it, and
yeah,
make it half. But
yeah,
I agree with the decision because I think what it does is it takes it too far to a point of it feeling uncomfortable. And
yeah,
then J.K. Simmons' character obviously is there and he's into it. And you're kind of like, yeah, you know what? You're now in a place that not many people are going to appreciate, but the people who do appreciate it really appreciate it. And you're doing something that not many other people can do just physically, let alone on
yeah,
beat and everything else. And so it has to be that extreme to kind of
yeah,
show that actually I think it almost changes the moral of the ending in some ways. That before, if he'd just done a good performance and it'd all been fine, and then the
yeah,
crowd kind of gets up and is like, oh, hey, that's almost sort of says,
yeah,
okay, well, it was worth it. Whereas because it goes so long, and then that final shot or between Fletcher and him, where they
yeah,
sort of look at each other and you can tell that Fletcher's smiling, even though you can't even see
yeah,
his mouth, is like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks. Like that
yeah,
was great. And that's actually more important. And I think that it makes it feel much more uncomfortable where you're kind of like, but to everyone else, that was just too much. But to him,
yeah,
it's like, okay, yeah, that's what I wanted all along. Was I wanted one of that moment for both of them, right? He wanted to be able to
yeah,
play that, and also Fletcher wanted to be coaching someone who is actually like that. But then, as the
yeah.
director says, Andrew's probably dead by the time he's 30 because it takes
Oh
him
yeah,
down on that road of
yeah,
he's always just going to be
yeah,
pushing and pushing and pushing, and that's just not
yeah.
going to be possible to sustain.
Yeah, yeah, no, agreed. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like he gets away from the drums, obviously he puts them away, and it's almost like a weird scenario where it's like an addict, right? Like
Mm,
but he's
yeah,
addicted to the
yeah,
drums,
yeah.
and he's got away from them. And then the guy's like, "Oh, look, no, I'm a good guy now." And that was one of the things originally I put down, going, "Oh, there's no way that he would change that quickly." And then obviously we now know he didn't. It was a complete setup, which you got to appreciate.
So you were
But
completely suckered in, like you thought that he'd like it was just sort of a film
yeah,
device. Oh, when he
yeah,
sits down and he comes over
yeah,
and he says, "I knew it
yeah.
was you." Did your heart just
Yeah.
drop?
I was like, "Oh, what is he gonna do?" And then you're kind
That's
of thinking, "I wonder if he's gonna stitch you up with different music." And then that's exactly what he does, and you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
harsh, very
yeah.
harsh."
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
On the
yeah.
first watch, I
Yeah, that
remembered
was a
the
great gotcha
same.
moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so good where especially because Andrew's sitting there, he's smiling and yeah,
Yeah.
and then he
And he
comes over
just
and he's like,
destroys him.
obviously, I know it's you. And you just think, oh no,
Yeah.
what's he gonna do?
It's so because as we're saying, like, it's effectively an addiction, and he now feels like, "Oh, maybe I can come back and just dabble a bit, and it's okay. I've got, like, a
Yeah,
healthy addiction." And then he's like,
yeah,
"No, no, no, no. I'm gonna destroy you in front of all these people, and then this is gonna just not only is it, I've brought you back to the addict phase, I'm also now going to overdose you. So
Yeah.
I'm going to send you over the edge. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was
And that I
mean.
think that's really this time I got much more with the dad relationship. Is that
Yeah,
the dad looks at it like an addiction as well, and he's kind of
yeah,
like, look, well,
yeah,
just live your life. You don't need to have this. You don't need to be the
yeah,
best. You don't need to be the greatest. Just live your life. And he's
yeah,
just like, no, I want to be the greatest. And that brilliant shot when he's doing his solo, where you sort of see the dad through the sort of crack in the door. I
yeah,
think the first time I watched it, I was kind of thinking that it was almost sort of admiration, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you've done it, son." And now I watched it, and I was really realizing that he's like, "I've lost him. There's just no
yeah,
coming back from this." Almost, yeah.
yeah,
He's just gone from me. And so it
yeah,
was a really great shot, and I think really well done. That you're just like, oh, it's like devastating that this
yeah,
isn't the moral of the story is not, well, this method works. Like that's
yeah.
not the moral of the story
No,
that
no,
I took. It's like, yeah, this is going to wreck your life, and
yeah.
now you're just going to be in it, and you're never going to get out.
Yeah, I think exactly that, and you can see in his temperament change as well as he gets effectively more addicted to it. So at the start, he's really
Yeah,
introverted, and he's very shy, and then as the film goes on, he's talking back to Fletcher all the time, and it's not necessarily that he's got more confidence to talk to someone like that. It's that this person is cutting off his addiction,
yeah,
and then now he's like fighting that thing that's getting in the way of his addiction. And so that was quite interesting, have a adaptive character. And I thought that the actor was very good. He played that very well.
yeah.
I thought he was well cast. And so I was just going to go off tangent slightly. I think this might just been led by the snacks, so I've got to just make sure I caveat this. But I wrote down, would I do the same if I had this power? And then I was like, would I do this? I mean, obviously, no, that's just the snacks talking. But
One bad monster munch, and all of a sudden
oh,
you're a monster.
dude, if it had been Monster Munch, I'd have been happy. It was it was been Monster Munch. Was there anything that you specifically noticed this time around? I know obviously you mentioned about the hum because you had the headphones in, but anything else that you sort of noticed on the rewatch?
Yeah, one thing that was slightly, I don't think the relationship with the girl kind of works. I don't think they
Yeah.
don't spend enough time on it to actually feel like he's
Hmm.
losing something. And actually, I don't think you'd like her very much. I mean, when he asks her out and she's like, just turn around and
Oh,
walk out, you're like, that's
yeah.
just, why would you do
Please go
that?
away.
Like,
Yeah,
that's just mean.
I
So
love
do
that
we
though. That was
actually,
funny.
but do we actually want him to be with her? And the scene where they break up, I mean,
Yeah.
that as far as well, even the first date, I think as well. The first date, I was going to say,
Yeah.
is that a better or worse date than someone having a heart attack and not showing up? I think,
I
I
know.
think,
There's some good first dates in these films, aren't there? Yeah. What
but
is
it just
worse?
felt the yeah, it just felt a bit script heavy, and I think that's not where this film sort of does well. I think it's all about kind of reacting and
Yeah.
the actors and the beat of it. So I did kind of think that, yeah, and funnily enough, still even on this watch, when he finds out that the kid has committed suicide, he's crying and they're listening to the song. I don't really
Mm.
know what that scene's supposed to be. Like, is that him showing his kind of like more generous side or emotional, or the fact that he is invested? He's not
Mm.
just doing it to kind of be a dick, but he is actually, he really wants these people to do well, or is it just a ploy to make him seem more human to Andrew? I don't know. It's just a
Yeah.
bit jarring. I think
I think,
that kind of bit.
yeah, for me, watching it the first time round, I kind of saw it because he just says, "Oh yeah, someone who was really good is sadly died." He doesn't obviously say that he committed suicide. So
Yeah,
for me, it was a piece of information that I needed for something that they obviously tell you later on in the film. So I was like, "Oh right," and so
yeah,
then you're like, then I was thinking. So were they just fake tears? Like, and then you're
yeah,
right. What was his reaction for? Why did he react that way? And yeah, I don't know, but for me, it was, I guess if he'd have just come in and said that person had died, would it work just as well? Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
bit strange. Maybe just to show that he's just strange and
Yeah.
psychotic slash sadistic.
Well, I did watch the last scene with the director's commentary, which was the
Yeah,
director and J.K. Simmons. And what I actually liked about it was kind of art mirroring life. So the J.K. says, "Oh, I'm talking here, and I really like the fact that Andrew like starts playing and interrupts me. But
yeah,
I was going to introduce Caravan anyway, so it's not like he's completely off the reservation. It's just that he's taking it early." And then the director
yeah,
says, "Oh, actually, in post we changed that. So you say, well, we're going to take it a bit softer, or we're going to go a bit down tempo."
yes,
And then he
yes,
starts up Caravan, and JK was like, "Oh, well, that completely changes that bit." And it's like the director has completely changed that scene,
and
and
not
the
told him
actor,
about it.
yeah, the actor didn't know anything at all. So the director's
Yeah,
actually in
well,
charge. So
oh,
yeah, I thought that was
see,
really funny.
these DVD extras, we used to wonder what they were for. Now we miss them
Yeah,
because you don't get those in streaming, do you? You miss out on all that. But
yeah. And then the
yeah,
only other scene that I really liked that I didn't kind of pick up on the first time was was when when the guy comes in to take Andrew's spot. And so
yeah,
I
oh
keep
yeah,
flipping between calling him Miles and calling him Andrew. Obviously, Miles is
yeah,
the actor and Andrew's the character. But
yeah,
when he's like, "Oh, can I borrow your sticks?" There's a moment between Andrew and
yeah,
Fletcher where you can just tell he's standing there going, "Yeah, I brought this guy in and he's just asked to borrow your sticks." And
yeah,
what an idiot, but I'm
yeah,
still
yeah,
gonna put him in. And it's
yeah,
just this
exactly.
great like, "Oh, don't lend him your sticks. He's just about to try
Yeah.
and take your spot."
Well, and this is the thing, right? That's like where you see about how he is really destroying his character. He's
Yeah,
absolutely completely decimating him because he's embarrassing him in a way that without him even playing. 'Cause like you
yeah,
said, he's like, "Oh, I'm bringing in this person. I know he's nowhere near as good as you." And like you said, he's so far away from how good you are. He can't even remember to bring his own. He's only got one tool that he needs to play the drums, and he's forgotten it.
he's
So,
come to an interview.
yeah,
He's got the song
yeah,
music, and he's not bored of
uh,
sticks. And
but
then I
yeah,
also like with that guy, when they've been doing all three of them have been competing, and it's been 3 hours, and then he adjusts the seat,
oh,
and
yeah,
Fletcher's like, "Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's the seat." It's just like calls him
yeah,
out on it. I think that's so funny.
yeah. That was good. I don't know who wrote that in, but that was great because you're just like, oh my god, seriously, is this still going? And then you're right, that just last little extra piece. You're like, okay, yeah, that was quite good. It was good for that bit.
Was there any particular references that you think don't stand the test of time?
Oh,
Kind of having watched it. I mean, it's only a few
yeah.
years old, right? So
Yeah, but there were a few things, I guess, that are in there that, from a sort of dated point of view, were obviously CDs. Obviously, don't really have CDs around anymore. So
yeah,
yeah, there's lots of
9 years later, and no
yeah,
CDs.
yeah,
Sad.
no CDs at all, right? He didn't have his seatbelt on in the car, which now it would be like bing, bing, bing. So
Hate that.
that would have been happening. Yeah, exactly. So he would definitely have had his seatbelt on. He had his mobile phone in his hand while he was driving, which obviously is another thing that you don't do now. And then cargo shorts. I was like, yep, no one wears cargo shorts anymore. Get rid of them. They were a
Whatever
terrible
happened to
idea.
cargo shorts?
Oh, why did they ever appear? I mean, you look back and think, why? What happened? What did we do to deserve this?
I needed the
And
pockets. I needed
I
all of the
know,
pockets I could possibly
God.
have.
And then they used to go to 3/4 length, so then you could have extra pockets on the bottom. Oh my God, it's making me feel sick. So yeah,
One
there
of
was a
the
few things there.
One of the more obscure ones, when he says, "Are you a single tier guy? I'm not a double rainbow." And I was like, "Ah, that's an internet uh, thing that I'm sure that most people wouldn't get now." Do you remember the
Yeah.
video about the double rainbow and
No.
how beautiful it
Oh,
was?
yes, yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
actually a bit of a weird reference for the character to
Yeah,
know, because I presume that he's not
yeah.
just going on YouTube.
He's not
But
old enough.
yeah,
I did like the bit where he No, I did like it. But he's intense because it was shocking when he slaps him, and you're like, you're
Yeah.
sort of like, oh my god, and everyone just sits there, no one does anything,
Yeah.
and you're just like, what? And then obviously then does it again. He's like, are you in time? Are you
Yeah.
dragging or you're ahead? And then I thought, I wonder if this is the same as this was like his audition for Maverick. Is this what Tom Cruise did to him? And he's like, you wanna be a Maverick? You wanna be a Maverick? And he's like, rather than just going through an intense scenario with him being slapped, it's thrown him out of a plane without like a parachute. It's jumping off a mountain on a motorbike and
It's playing Great
yeah.
Balls of Fire. Come on.
Yeah.
You've
Get
got to
on
get
with
the
it.
whole
Yeah.
bar involved. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I love with that, just like how quickly it escalates. The first time he's like,
Mm.
nope, not my tempo.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then it's like a little bit dragging. And then he throws
Yeah.
a chair and then he's slapping him on time. You're just like,
Yeah.
wow, that
And it
escalated really quickly.
yeah, and everyone just stands there and goes and
Yeah, just looks at the
and you
floor.
know that because they're like, this has happened before. It wasn't shocking
Yeah.
to anyone
Yeah.
because they're like, yep, we know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
What
good.
how would you describe the film then in a to the aliens and the
To the
short
aliens.
amount of words?
So I had a couple options here. My first one was Mickey Rourke travels back in time and has to get good at the drums to return. That was by by sort of crossover of Iron Man 2 and Back to the Future.
Just to throw them off so that they can
Yeah. They're like, I love Mickey Rourke. Let's put this on. Where is he? But no, I was like, an old man teases a young boy about his drumming abilities. That was my other option.
that is like the tamest description.
Yeah.
Well, this
It's like
sounds
a-
like it will be slightly nice. I'll put this in. And
I know. It's almost like patronizing, isn't it? It's awful. But yeah, that was what I came up with. What about you?
well, I thought that we need to distract the aliens. So I would say
yeah.
drumming is a really important human activity, and this is how you learn how to do it. So that then
Yes.
they just like go intimidated and
Yeah.
they're trying to learn the drums, and
Yeah.
we can throw chairs at them.
Yeah. That would be funny, isn't it? Or that'd be the ones sitting here just slapping us in the face all the time while we try to learn the drums. And we're like, why? What is it? Why do they keep wanting us to play the drums?
4 different tentacles. They can actually slap you on every beat.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be
Each
terrible.
time. Were there any life lessons that you took for the film?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, don't use your phone when driving, especially when you're talking to someone who's completely irrelevant. He doesn't need to talk to that person. The person's like, where are you? And unless it's Fletcher, you're just like, well, what does it? You don't care where I am. But I think, the overriding is just really be sure if you're going to be this into something, really be sure that it's something that you love. Because imagine doing all of that and actually then being like, actually, I don't really like the drums. I think I'll go and do something else. So I think this is, if you're going to put your heart and soul in something, you have to be really sure that it's something that you want.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know if you've watched any of the new Netflix show and the other streaming services available as well. But the Beckham documentary or propaganda, depends what you want to talk about it as. So on there, obviously they talk. You see about how he sort of develops, and I know you've spoken before. Obviously, his parents moving to Manchester.
Yeah,
and it's just like it's the same sort of thing. Like we just had that single-minded dedication, and this is obviously just where you almost see like the other side of things where people really wanted to be good at it but they probably didn't make it, and maybe their addiction to football fell away and then they struggled, and then the same with this with the drums. Whereas you look at obviously the Beckham documentary, and actually he worked really, really hard and they made it. And so but there'll be people who work really, really hard and don't make it, and it's as you said, it's a difficult one. You've got to be confident that you're going to be okay afterwards if you don't make it, or you just got to be confident that you do make it. It's tough otherwise.
As I say, I think that really came through to me this time on the watch. Like that's the dad is like, you don't want to put, all of your eggs in one basket. You don't want to just, what else do you have any friends? Are you doing other stuff?
Yeah.
And that was, I think that was really way more present in me watching it now, because obviously as most parents would be like, oh yeah, I know that you really like this, but you know what, you need a backup plan just in case. But that you can't have that backup plan, because almost not having the backup plan is what drives you on to be great. And that's why I think this film is so fascinating, that it is like, okay, well, you have to be completely single-minded in order to be great at something. Like not many people are going to be able to do that, and not many people should do that as well, because obviously, as you say, there are lots of people that don't make it.
Yeah, I know, and that's the challenge, isn't it? Yeah. I think for me, my only life lesson was never rely on buses. So if the bus hadn't broken down, it would all have been fine. And but that was a bit of a strange ride.
I mean, no Uber there. He has to try and find a taxi. That's obviously day to day. He would be able to find, an electric bike now, or a courier that would have been able to take him. But did you notice him forgetting his sticks as well? Because I remember on the first watch, just when he runs out, you're just like, oh no, he's left him.
I thought it was going to be closed. He wouldn't even be able to get back in, but then does get back in, and he has the car crash. But I think they played that scene very well, because obviously he comes back and it's like he's, gone cold turkey, and he's sweating. He comes in late, and the coach, the teacher, is shouting at him, and he's like, I can make it. I can do it. Don't worry. It's okay. And then he has to go back, and then it's almost like, I can get you the money. Don't worry about it. So it was quite a clever portrayal, I thought, of it escalating that addiction. And then culminating in, a horrific car crash. And yet even then, he still needs his fix, and he leaves to try and still make it. It's obscene and crazy. And obviously the teacher just lets him, just like watches him just destroyed himself as he just had a car crash, just still lets him play because he knows. But what any other sort of fun genre that you think this could have been changed to?
I thought actually, it would be interesting as a silent movie, because I don't think that the dialogue particularly is, I mean, it's good, but almost it's not needed so much as the shots, and literally just to have the music and the drumming as the sound.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say without the drumming. I was like, this is a great idea. This has solved my problem. As to the drums.
As we covered several weeks back, a silent movie doesn't mean that there's literally no sound. It just means that the people aren't talking. But I think, and obviously we'll get back on to favorite lines, but I think literally they're just a silent movie, black and white, no talking, no cards saying lines apart from the NFL line. That's the only time that you see words on the screen. And then that's
that is a great line.
But I think that would work really well, because it is about the intensity of the shots, on him when he's playing, and on Fletcher, and like not when it's swinging backwards and forwards, but the ferocity. I could really just see that being just having music, as I say. Also you have the score all the way through it, so not having any dialogue at all, and just having the shots. I think that would actually be pretty interesting.
Interesting. All right.
How about you?
I went a different angle. I went more for like a romance, or a romantic comedy between the drummer and the teacher. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna see how this develops and how this goes. And it'll be like him dropping the drumstick, and then the teacher picking it up, and then both looking at each other's eyes. I mean, I was thinking when I said this, I was thinking, I need to make sure I check with you first that I couldn't remember what if he's at like college or high school. I was like, I better check that he's at the right appropriate age before I suggest this. This might have to get edited out. No, he's at university, isn't he, or something like that? So I think he's supposed to be old enough. But I thought that could be like an interesting take with the teacher and the student.
Well, funnily enough, again in the director's commentary, J.K. Simmons says that the thing that most people sort of ask him about is the kind of the relationship and the sort of homoeroticism that goes with it, because it does seem so all encompassing. And the director's like, I didn't write that in, but I totally get it. And it is
I couldn't
supposed to
see
be
it.
that this relationship is akin to that, because they
Yeah.
are so involved with each other to you
Yeah.
know, the not
Yeah.
having anything else kind of there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
To get to that, that level.
Yeah.
And
What character would you be then? Do we need to do this like pre-snacks and post-snacks? Would you be
this
Andrew and then you had the bad snacks and then you would be Fletcher? Or what are you thinking?
we should maybe introduce this as a new feature, pre and post snacks. Yeah, I think I'm not someone that I would necessarily identify with, but I thought in this film it would be quite interesting to have played Fletcher. That's what I was
Mm.
thinking. I mean, there's no one that I thought that you really want to be as such, other than maybe the third drummer. He seems to be pretty happy with life. Everyone else is pretty much hating it, so it's all pretty grim. But but yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting to see like what the mindset is of Fletcher. Like, what does he? I mean, obviously he believes that he's doing something really, really good. So I
Yeah,
thought his
yeah.
character would interesting. How about yourself?
So I want to be I think I am the type of guy. I would be the bass drummer, the bass player at the end. So
Yeah,
you know,
okay,
Andrew's
yeah,
doing that, and he's like, "I'll
keep up.
count you in."
Yeah,
If that bass player is just like, "No, man, what are you doing?" Then basically his entire
it's
life is
ruined it
just
all.
over. But he's like, "I'll count you in," and the bass player like, "All right, let's do it." And so like
Yeah,
he joins in, and then everyone joins in, and then you have to go. So
yeah,
fair play to the bass player. I
yeah.
think he makes it. He allows it to go forward.
Yeah. Yeah, that's trade off. And he's literally probably, I mean, obviously the dad's like a nice character as well, but there aren't really many, not that they're bad characters, but there's not really any like nice uplifting characters, really, are
No,
they? Because everyone's just so submissive because he's so controlling.
I think all the way
Mm.
through, there's no nourishing relationships for Andrew. I think that's what's interesting. Like the family is pretty toxic, as we say with the girlfriend. She doesn't seem the nicest person. She makes fun of him. So actually, again, like the nourishment almost does come from the moments when Fletcher is nice to him, and not, you
Yeah.
know, which is just few and far between. Which again is,
Yeah.
I think, kind of very similar to that kind of drug and angle, which is just
Yeah.
it's just so well done. So
Yeah.
so you said you've got lots of lines that are in.
Yes.
You know, this is usually my category. I want you to go
Yeah.
wild. What are your top three or four?
Oh, there were some really good ones, and they're pretty much all in the same scene when they're trying to find that person that's out of tune, and he's like, "Tell me it's not you, Elmer Fudd." And I think that was just for me. That's just probably just a reference of my age. I was like, "Oh, Elmer Fudd, I haven't heard that for a while."
And then it wasn't
Um,
him. And then
yeah,
that's like almost one of the harshest bits.
it
Is that
is.
it wasn't actually him, and he's like, but he didn't know that, so that's why I booted him out. You're like, oh
Yeah.
man, this guy.
Yeah, he's just terrible. And then he's like, there was the other one, I think, near the end, where just before he has the car crash, when he's like he's like his second in command or whatever's next to him, and he's like, "Get out of my sight before I demolish you." And I was like, "Whoa, yeah." And then the NFL one's amazing as well. But I'll let you tell that one. That is a great line.
Yeah,
But yeah, what about
yeah.
yourself?
Got it, yeah. No, I do like the NFL one. Obviously, yeah,
Yeah,
come play with us. Forwards, you're not going to hear from the NFL.
yeah,
I do think it's
brilliant.
good. And that is an interesting scene as well, because I don't know, that sort of
Yeah.
shows again that everyone's kind of quite harsh to him. And his point
Mm,
is obviously, well, I'm trying to do something great, and you're just trying to do something good within the bounds of where you are.
mm.
But again, it's a bit jarring. It's a bit kind of out there.
Yeah. I
Um,
think that one was quite good because it sort of shows you where we as society lie, importance and where we think is great. And it's like, oh, you're really good at sports. Oh, great. Yeah. Oh, you
yeah,
just play in a band. Oh, brilliant. So, and I think, yeah, it's interesting how we do get caught up in maybe not appreciating, that people can be good at lots of different things. And that doesn't mean it's any less, and it may even be harder.
yeah.
And I think that's interesting because obviously it's all in America. It's all about, the NFL and they're doing really well. But
Uh,
realistically, as
Unlike
you
the
said,
Premiership here in the UK, obviously,
well,
which
yeah, exactly the same, right? And that's the
yeah,
thing. It always, it'd be exactly the same there. But yeah, if you could swap anything out for today and remake it, is anything that you would change?
I felt like the family could have had a bit of an upgrade. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I just feel like again with that scene, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just there
Just
wasn't
like Eddie
that
Murphy
much.
playing all of them, something like that.
Hey, I mean,
Yeah.
he's capable. Let's face it.
Yeah. He's got the
But no,
skills.
I think yeah. But besides that, I mean, it's 9 years old. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think there's too much else. Anything that you would you'd swap out?
Yeah. Any other musical instrument would have been.
Which one do you think would work more, or that you would want to hear someone practicing a lot? Because that's the thing, the
Yeah.
drums practicing is a bit better. Like
Oh,
someone practicing the
I
trumpet
don't know.
or the
Yeah. I mean,
saxophone, it's going to
I
be a bit
think.
tough.
Yeah, it would have to be, as we said earlier. I think it would have to be a different type of film where maybe it was a band, and then you do probably the guitarist, probably something like that, and then
Right.
the guitar would be much better. But yeah, in this type of band, it would be challenge. You'd maybe try and see if you can do the piano, but
Mm,
that might be a bit challenging because you said it's a bit easier because it's more obvious for the piano to be sort of a lead than the drums. The
yeah.
drums, like you said, it really has to be clear that he has to try so much to show that he's an integral part of this orchestra.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I probably just would have maybe guitar. But
Okay.
yeah,
Well, that's
reviews.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up that point because
Yeah,
yeah, for the reviews, 1 star review. Good if you're a
yeah.
drummer. Bit weird and poor if you ain't. 1 star.
There you go. I
So
mean, it's to the point.
obviously none of the themes. If you
Mm,
basically this film was just a how to about playing the drums, and if you can't play the drums or don't want to play the drums, then
yeah,
essentially there was nothing else. There was nothing else in it. Uh,
yeah.
Another one. I'm sorry, but the lead performance of the psycho bully is a very unconvincing one. Did he really win a Hollywood popularity award for it? What really scares the bejesus out of me is that so many people actually say they like this film. Yikes. What sort of society do we live in?
I don't really know what that means. What do
Yeah.
they mean? As in, we like it because, or we shouldn't like it because it's
Yeah.
something that's terrible?
Yeah. And he thought that the psycho bully was unconvincing. You're like, okay, well, he won 43 awards for it. And it
Yeah,
wasn't just Hollywood.
I
I
must.
think we can all agree. It's quite a
Yeah,
good performance. I think we can
yeah.
agree on that.
I must say that at the start, he's not really doing too much. He's more about Andrew, the drummer. Like he's actually the
Yeah.
one, and he's really doing all the acting. And I was thinking, I don't really understand why he hasn't pulled more of this together himself. But the teacher really comes into his own as it goes on, and then
Yeah.
obviously at the end, really like, yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes terrible, and
And
yeah,
then
very good.
the last one, you can see the passion the lead has for playing the drums, but he's made to play until his fingers bleed and is bullied into giving up everything else in life to practice.
Yeah,
But he's acting. You realize
it's not real life.
that's not real life.
Yeah, they're not real plasters.
1 star, because the lead likes playing the drums, but then they make his fingers bleed. And
Yeah,
then some 5 stars. Whiplash is a
yeah,
modern day masterpiece. I don't say that often. In fact, never. But you just have,
wow.
like literally in the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
sentence. So
yeah,
that's a bit of a strange one.
yeah,
Having studied music all of my conscious life, I can honestly say
yeah.
that Whiplash is the most inspirational movie dedicated to music that I've ever seen. If I ever slow down with practicing or feeling a little blocked, Whiplash is on the itinerary for that evening, which always does the trick.
Wow,
That's a bit
blimey.
concerning.
That's very
Amazon
concerning.
should get in touch with that person and just make sure that
Yeah,
they're doing it
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What a fantastic movie. Highly recommend this movie to everyone. I've watched it twice in one day. That's how great it is.
Well, that would definitely be intense.
That
I
would
don't know
be
if I could do it twice in a
Yeah,
day.
that would be interesting.
Yeah,
And then just the final one, some good special features and director's commentary. But at the end of the day, I bought the
yeah,
film in order to be able to watch the film. 5 stars.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
That's a good summation.
that's fair. Um,
Yep.
how do you think it would do now if it came out? I was interested in what you thought about this.
I thought, in my mind, I thought if it was drums, it might be worse. I think people would probably expect that AI could just play the drums now. So you just have some kind of robot, and if
They
you
could do
didn't have
that
a
in the
robot
80s.
playing it, yeah. So if you did just have a robot doing the drums, you'd be like, well, yeah, who cares? You can play drums quickly. So I don't know. I don't think it would do as well, is what I thought. What about
Yeah.
you?
I think it would have to be set in the 60s or 70s for
Mm,
the whole sort of abusive teacher angle to kind of work. I think most people would be
yeah,
like, well, yeah, it's just unrealistic. A teacher just wouldn't do that, which I think is wrong. I think there were teachers who were doing that 10 years ago.
yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah,
now, obviously, yeah, you just wouldn't be able to do that. And, the
no.
kids will have all of the power. So,
Yeah, those kids.
the similar movies on Letterbox,
Yep.
they had Mr. Holland's Opus.
I mean,
This
yeah,
film
okay.
is not like that film.
No.
Dead Poets Society. This film is
Mm,
not really like that film. And Tar,
no,
which I don't know if you've
don't
seen
think I've seen
Tar.
that. No.
Tar is very similar to Tar. Tar is actually a fantastic movie. It's probably one of the best female characters in the last 30 years.
Yeah,
As far as having it written, it's a really, really good movie. And it is the same as this, where you're on edge and it's uncomfortable
yeah,
and it's intense all the way through. But I think we need to keep track of this. I think the algorithms lost that one. Those other films are nothing like this film. So
yeah,
that's one
yeah,
for the robots not
yeah.
knowing.
Because you would have definitely. What was it? Fox, was it Foxcatcher? That would
Yeah,
yeah. You
yeah,
would have thought that would have been on there because that's a very similar film, but just with a different with
yeah.
wrestling rather than
They've
drumming.
just gone. There was music in it, so Mr. Hollinside was like Richard Dreyfuss as
Yeah,
a like
yeah,
cuddly
yeah.
music
I'm surprised they
teacher.
didn't put Sister Act in there as well. We're like, let's just go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, so the ultimate question then, is it still going to stay in your top 100, and would it stay in the same position?
Yeah, I think I'm happy with where it is. It's such a well-made movie. I
Mm,
do think it balances on the cusp of going over the top and
yeah,
being a bit too sort of almost comedy because of how over the top it is. And I think it
yeah,
balances just about right on that line. But I
yeah,
think if you want to see how to make a movie, I think this is one of the movies that I would always just
yeah,
say you should go ahead and watch, because it's
yeah,
such a good movie and it's so well
yeah,
made. And obviously La La Land kind of went on, and I'm not as big a fan. I haven't actually seen Babylon, but I think that the director, I think he's gonna kind of dominate in the next 10 to 15 years. He's going to bring out a lot of
yeah,
stuff that's just really, really good. So this as a first effort, I think is really good. I think people should watch it. I think it is good, and I do really like it. So
yeah. And for everyone who's going to watch it, who hasn't watched it yet, just remember to watch all of the end credits for the little cameo from Mickey Rourke at the end. So just make sure you watch that.
and make sure, what snacks did you get, so we can avoid those
Oh,
snacks.
it was. I mean, I'm a big fan of Turkish delight. I mean, I'm gonna get a lot of hate mail now. I know.
Yeah, that's we're
But
not going to mention our email address this time, because
yeah.
otherwise
It was little Turkish delight balls, and the ratio of Turkish delight to chocolate was just off. I got some sort of foam bananas, and they were just terrible. They were just pure sugar. And I just was sitting there eating them for the sake of eating them because they were there, while just crying myself into this film. So
just getting
I got
angrier and angrier.
yeah,
And you were
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I think Fletcher's in the right. That's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, so next week we have a classic. We give a little tease there, to see if people know. And the quote that just springs to mind is, 100 million. Are you a banker or a drug dealer? Because if you're a banker, and we'll leave the rest to next week. Thanks as ever to Tom Evans for putting together our theme song. And we'll see you next week on Long Play Video.